shit. I don't believe it. It's not over. Who the fuck are you? Am I supposed to know that person? Who the fuck is that?
Talking back, a detonator.
Huh. I didn't think that would be the last mission. So I guess the continue fighting in, what do you call it? In Avalon is, the continuation of the story probably in the Warzone seasons. Okay. I'll admit, that ending was a little anticlimactic. Gameplay-wise, I didn't think that was that crazy good. I also feel like the whole story with Case feels super unresolved, especially like the voice that don't explain the voice. They still I feel like they still haven't gone into as much about what happened with Case. Quite long too. I mean, like I didn't even go. I probably went almost as fast as you could go with like a couple extra dialogue bits and finding all the secrets, and that took me probably around 6 hours. Six and a half hours. That's a pretty good length for a campaign, honestly. I would say that's like average Call of Duty campaign length. And again, I could go longer. There was more stuff that I didn't do. But yeah, no, this was good. I'm trying to think if I like this better than Cold War in the end. I think Adler wasn't utilized as well in this campaign. And I think they kind of like tried to make Adler this morally gray character, but they didn't really. There was never really a part where you question his morality. Like I would have preferred if the person who had killed her parents was Adler, because that is an Adler thing to do. And then you have like a morally gray in there. And also, that shouldn't have been the last mission. It should have been like, you know, we have one more mission after this where we have to secure the Cradle bioweapon, and like fight in the capital, that kind of deal. I think that would have been much better ended. And then you have some cutscenes that confront some things and such. But I also definitely think that the team should have learned about Case's experimentation on himself from the Cradle. I feel like that's a very cool storyline, but they didn't tap into that, you know? Like what is up with Case and the Cradle? Like he's got things where he can't talk about the Cradle. He's got a voice in his head. He's got like maybe like some extra strength or something, you know? It's like I feel like they didn't go into that enough, you know? I also wish that there were multiple endings, like in Cold War. I know Cold War's endings weren't nearly as good as Black Ops 2's, but it would be nice if it had multiple endings. But there's a lot in here that's good. But there's a lot in here that's also got room to be desired and room for improvement. Overall, I'm just thinking about Cold War right now. Specifically, I'm trying to see if I think this is better than Cold War. I'm gonna say yes. Actually, sorry, I'm gonna say no. This is a good campaign. This is very fun, but I don't think it's better than Cold War. There are some aspects about it that are better, but I think overall I liked Cold War's campaign more. I liked the multiple endings. I thought that the reveal, like the surprise reveal of Bell, was really great, and also just way better. Number one, that Jane was in charge of the whole Cradle project, and number two, that did really good with that in that final mission of like with the two different sides. Although I again still think that shouldn't have been the final mission. That should have been the second to last mission. It would have been much better. But her reveal wasn't really anything super shocking. There was enough build-up, or like had trust with her in like a couple cutscenes where you talk with her. So it's not really the same level. Like I don't feel it as a character, you know, as a player. It's the kind of premise of like show, don't tell. You know, don't tell me that you have a big relationship with Jane, and because of that, it's really heart-wrenching. Would have wanted, but like what I mean is like if Adler were to betray us, or Bell, or Sims, right? If any of those characters feel as impactful the way that it is right now. And then yeah, as for Bell, sorry, not Bell. As for Case's reveal of him having been a test subject of the early Cradle experiments, I again think that that's a cool reveal that has promise, but they didn't really do anything with it, you know? Like they just they kind of just said like, yeah, Bell and Case was experimented on, and we had a really cool and scary and freaky zombie mission where we reveal all this cool lore that Case was one of the first test cases of the bioweapon, and then it became unstable, so he sabotaged the facility and caused it and everyone to basically die, and then he was rehabilitated. But like there's no one mentions it, and they have a whole thing where Case isn't allowed to mention it. He like physically cannot mention it because there's this voice in his head that's preventing him. But who's the voice? What is that voice? We never get into that. And it just feels like a really like unfinished storyline, you know, the way that it's left here. I feel like there was a lot of potential for the story to be kind of like wrapped up after Case was like trying to kill or did kill Jane, and then you go have a cutscene about it, and then you go into the final mission. Very similar, of course, to the way they did it with the Cold War campaign. That's what I was expecting here, because in the Cold War campaign you have that mission where they all reveal. Adler reveals the truth to you, when he's injected you to go through the trippy memory sequence to get the location of Perseus, and then you have the final mission where you fight Perseus, or where you betray Adler and all that. That's what I was expecting, and I think the way that they built up this campaign, that's what they needed, because I still think that ended, well, really anticlimactic, you know? Like, it didn't feel like it was a build-up to the end of the campaign. It felt like it was the build-up to the second to last mission of the campaign. That's what I said going into it. I was like, this has got to be the second to last mission. That's what I said, and that's what I was expecting, and that's what I think it should have been. Because the way that it is right now, it really just, I don't know. It was a bit of an anticlimactic ending there. But don't get me wrong, this is not all bad. Like I said, I very much like the safe house. They expanded the area to search quite a bit more. My main complaint with the safe house was that all of the puzzles involved in it were ridiculously easy and were very limited, and also only gave me money and a multiplayer blueprint. I appreciate that there are multiplayer rewards for playing the campaign, especially a bunch of campaign challenges. I think that's really good because that adds a lot of replayability. But I wish that the secrets had more story-wise. Not only was I disappointed that I was able to complete all of the secrets within like half an hour after the first mission, but I was very disappointed when at the end of all of it, it had no impact on the story whatsoever. I really wish that it did. I wish that there was this campaign. I definitely had an option for bad endings, but unfortunately we didn't really get that. But I really liked the gameplay aspects, although I wish that they had added the ability to have a gunsmith for your loadouts. It was really nice that the game still allowed you to get things like perks and character upgrades purchased through that money system. I think that's a very good feature. I thought the levels were really good. One of my main complaints is that I don't think there were as many like super memorable missions in this game. A lot of them were kind of basic, but I like the fact that I could tell that for a lot of these missions, they doubled down on what was evidently my favorite parts of Cold War. Like right now, my favorite mission in the game is hands down the the Vorkuta mission. That's my favorite mission because I love that whole like you're in disguise and you're trying to get shit done deal. I really like that. They had a brief mission with that, like that in Modern Warfare 3's campaign, but it was way too short and it wasn't a great one. The one in Vorkuta, I really liked that. I also really liked the mission with the Senator, where you had to get his eye scan and then break Adler out. That's really nice, and I honestly look forward to eventually replaying this campaign so that I can try out some different approaches for that. Same goes with the Vorkuta mission and tackling all three of those objectives in different ways. And I like the bioweapon threat. I think that they could have done a little more with that, you know? I also think that the motives of Pantheon should have been alluded to a little sooner. It was kind of like a lot when you give us basically all of this exposition right at the end, you know? Like in Cold War did something similar, but with Cold War I was okay with it because in that exposition they revealed to you that all of it was right in front of you the whole time, and they had its and bits of that story right in your face, and then you only put the pieces together then. I mean, I will never get over how awesome of a reveal it was that the first mission you play, where you take out all these enemies, and you the second mission you play, you take out all these enemies and you assassinate the target. You capture the target on the tarmac, and then then you kill him. And then he says, "Fan out, let's look for survivors." And then they just cut to the cutscene. But then you find Bell in that car, and that's the character you play as for the rest of the game. I love that. But that brings me, speaking of Bell, that brings me to one of my other large complaints of this campaign, is that they once again have you play as a faceless character that doesn't speak and doesn't appear in cutscenes. I don't know why they do this. Like the first time first time in Cold War I didn't like it, but I understood why they did it, because they had a whole thing in the beginning where you can put together your own dossier, write down your own name, your gender, your background, so on and so forth. And in that case, although I still would have preferred if they had done something more like Black Ops 3, even though I still don't like Black Ops 3's. Black Ops 3's was better because at least you have a face and you show up in cutscenes and you talk. But like, even though I didn't like that, they at least had a reason. But I don't really get why they did that here. You have no control over your dossier as Case in this game, and I don't know what gender Case is. Oh, sorry, he's a guy because his name's William. Yeah, sorry. So like, yeah, he's a guy. You gave him a name. Why can't you give him a voice actor? Why can't you give him a? Why can't he show up in the cutscenes and talk? You know, like there were so many cutscenes where I'm like, Case should be here. You know, why is Case not here? It's the same problem that I had with Cold War, where like when you play as a character that doesn't have a face and that doesn't talk and doesn't show up in cutscenes, it doesn't feel like I'm in the story. It just feels like I'm a camera recording the story. Like I feel like this game kind of got a little more involved than it did with Bell, through the whole bit where Case was a test subject of the Cradle. But even then, it's still like, you know, like it would have been so much more compelling if I could see Case, you know? But yeah, overall, this was a very fun campaign. Leagues away from the best campaign, but also leagues away from the worst. I would still place this under Cold War. I'd have to get back to you on exactly where in the tier list of campaigns I would place it, but definitely good. I can safely report that. The only thing I'm confused about right now is whoever the fuck that guy at the end was, because I was expecting it to be like a big reveal of like, holy shit, that guy? I know that guy, but I in fact do not know that guy. So I don't know if that's someone I'm supposed to know, or if that's just like, that's some random guy that's going to be the main Avalon villain going forward. Let's see. I'll skip and see if there's a cutscene at the end. Nope. Okay. Cool. Let me Google it now. I want to Google who is at the end of that campaign cutscene.
So find a way to